In this session, we're going to be discussing 3 marketing steps to help prepare for lean years. And when I proposed this title to the guys in charge here, I wasn't sure if it's a lean year or a good year. And so I guess we're still trying to figure that out, where things are going in the economy. It seems like it's a mixed bag. We work with a number of shed companies across the country, and we see different trends here and there. But we're going to be talking about 3 marketing steps to prepare for lean years. First of all, I'm Chris Stoltzfus. This is my family. They're back home in Pennsylvania. I have 4 children. We lost one about 2 years ago. But before that, we had twins, and we weren't expecting twins. We thought there's only one, and 2 popped out. So that was an interesting experience. And I was the delivery boy. They were born at home. So, well, for the first one, the second one I missed. I was down helping the midwife come upstairs. So I love my family, love my kids. I started E-Impact Marketing about 8 years ago. We have a booth, number 30. Before that, I grew up on a farm, milking cows, waking up early in the morning. But farming, if you're a farmer, you know that farming isn't always the best return on investment. Sometimes farmers do it because it's a great place to raise a family. And so my dad was a farmer, grew up on I was the 4th generation on our family farm. And so farming wasn't so good. And so Dad started building things, or us boys started building things. Our first stab at building things was building dog boxes. My brothers, these are my 2 brothers, they would go to a local shed builder and pick up supplies with the pony and cart. And the cart, my brother had actually built that in our barn, in our dairy barn upstairs. So they would go pick up supplies and bring them back, and they would build dog boxes and load them back on the cart and take them to the shed company a couple miles away, and they would sell them. So that was sort of our first, attempt at building portable buildings. That was way back in the day. After that, we started building a few sheds in our little implement shed at home. This is me and my brother. You can see a shed wall in the background. And so my life has kind of been wrapped up in the shed industry for a long time, I guess. My dad would teach us how to build sheds, and my brother tells the story, or Dad tells the story of my brother learning how to build sheds. And they were setting up a wall, and Dad told him to make it flush, and he had no idea what that meant. All he could think was flush the toilet. And so that's where we learned about the shed industry. Eventually, we had to move the shed business that we had started to my uncle's farm, and so I grew up putting roofs on sheds out in the hot sun. And eventually, in time, my brother Steve, who is the owner of the company now, he ended up going to Romania, working with Christian Aid Ministries there for about 11 years. And Steve was a hardworking guy, and so he worked to the last minute. The day that it was time to go to Romania, he was pouring concrete for our manure pit at the farm. And about an hour before it was time to go, he runs inside, gets ready, or maybe a couple of hours. It was not long. And he sat me down, and for maybe an hour, he taught me how to do the accounting. And then he was off to Romania, and I was on my own to run this company. So I'm running this company, and I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, we figured it out step by step. The thing that really defined our company, the name of the company was Sheds Unlimited. The thing that really defined our company, and still does today, is getting into digital marketing. So when I was young, I really enjoyed computers. I think I bought my first computer when I was maybe 13 or so. And it was before people had computers. Nobody had computers back then. Very few people. And my friend was into computers, and he sold me his. And so I started playing around with these DOS floppy disks and, put a floppy disk in and install a program, and it grexes around and whatever. And then you pull it out and put another one in and played games and did whatever. So that was my introduction to computers. So when I was running the company, we were a really small company on the farm, and business was maybe a little slow. And so I bought a computer program for building websites, and never done anything like this before. think I paid $90 for the program and installed it on my computer. I think that was past the floppy disk era. Probably had a CD then. So I built a website for our company, and then I stumbled on Google Ads. This was in 2007, I think, 2007. And stumbled onto Google Ads, and we started getting phone calls and selling sheds. I'm like, wow, this is interesting. Nobody else was, it was pretty new back then to do digital marketing. And so in 2008, when the financial crisis hit, we were really pushing into digital marketing. And while the economy was going down, we were going up. And some of it was we were small, and so we had room to grow. But part of it, a big part of it, was related to the digital side. We were starting to compete with our competitors' dealers, New Jersey and the surrounding areas. We would sell direct. So we built this model around direct sales to customers within maybe 200 miles of our company. So through the years that things were declining in recession, we were growing year over year. Today, I'm no longer part of the company. My brother Steve is running the company. He owns the company, and I have E-Impact Marketing. Some of the guys are here with us. There's 7 of us here. We're a team of about 20 right now. So we're going to talk about 3 marketing steps to prepare for lean years. And like I said, when I proposed this title, the economy was probably stronger than it is now, and so maybe you're saying we're already in the lean years. We're in there somewhere. So the first thing I want to talk about is building a list of leads. So how to prepare, number 1, build a list of leads. This is actually almost 2 steps in one, several things put together. But building a list of leads and a following for remarketing. And so I want to highlight the remarketing piece there. So when things are good, we want to be building our following on social media. We want to be building our lead list so that when things turn down or turn bad, whatever, when things are lean, we can remarket to them. We can get in front of them again. So the first question is, what is a lead? Well, maybe that's too basic. We all know what that is. A lead, as I see it from a marketing perspective, is when I have somebody's phone number or email address. Oftentimes, email address is the first thing we want from a lead, because then I can remarket to them, right? So if I have their phone number or if I have their email address, I can send them. If I have their email address, I can send them an email. If I have their phone number, I can call them up, right? So how do we get leads? We're probably all doing this already. Quote forms, 3D builders, inventory request forms, a consultation request, maybe a deals list, maybe just a newsletter email list. And so when we get their email address, then what do we do with it, right? So one of the key pieces here is having systems in place so that you can actually utilize them. So if you have all these requests coming in and they're ending up in your inbox, but you're deleting them after a week, then you lost it. You lost the opportunity now to remarket to them. And so you want a system in place so that you can collect all of those leads and build that list, so that you can then use them again later. All right, so here's an example of a client that we've worked with. They do portable buildings. They get about 20,000 visitors in the last 7 days. I just checked their analytics yesterday. So during COVID, when things were really, really good, they were just inundated with leads, as probably a lot of us were. Just so many leads that they couldn't stay on top of it. All kinds of people requesting quotes. So we say, okay, what are we going to do? How can we slow this down? Well, we want their lead, right? We want that information. But in a time like that, we say, what can we do now to narrow down the leads so that we're actually focusing on the most important ones? So what we did is we implemented some things around pricing so that they could see the price before they submitted the lead. All right, so now I'll talk a little bit more about this later. So that was earlier when things were really good. We wanted to slow it down. We wanted to qualify the lead more. But then in 2022, they want the leads to increase because things are slowing down. They're saying, we need more leads. What can we do? Well, we had set systems up to qualify things. So now how can we start bringing in those leads again? A couple of things we did. One is we set up a consultation request. So you see the price, you say, well, that's too high, right? And we say, okay, well, we have other options, right? And so if you're not sure what you want, fill out this form and we'll help you figure it out. And so they fill out that form and we help them figure out what they're looking for. So now we have their contact information, we know what they're interested in, and we can be in touch and we can start remarketing to them or call them and help them figure it out. So in 2022, those are some of the things we set up. We also implemented a pop-up form on some of the pages for an opt-in to be notified when there's in-stock products or products on sale. Those two things that we added to the website brought in 4,150 leads in the last, I think it's since May or so. And so we would have missed all of those leads. Last year we didn't want them because we didn't have time to work on them. So in fact, it was a difficult time for some clients. They say, turn this off, we're too busy. And our thinking is, wait, we still want these leads somehow. So how can we keep collecting them? So collecting leads is a big part of being ready for the future. So next I want to talk about the quality of leads. As I've already indicated, some leads are worth more than others. Some are more qualified. Some, if somebody goes through a process requesting a very detailed, giving a lot of details of what they're looking for, they're much more qualified. So how do we qualify leads, or what are the different types of leads? So the ones with more detail we consider a more qualified lead. And those are the leads that have more details. They might tell you, I'm interested, or you might ask them, what's your time frame? You want to buy a shed. Are you interested in buying a shed tomorrow? Are you ready to buy now? Are you ready in 3 to 6 months? Are you ready in a year from now? And so that there helps you know how you can interact with that customer. You can also set up automated emails and things like that can then help to remarket to that customer. So you add details, timeline, budget, what do you want to spend? That might be a question. If they see pricing, so you have a customer, they come to your website and they're like, wow, this is a beautiful dog kennel. They don't realize it costs 20 grand, right? I would just say, if I'd know it cost that much, I'd never fill out the form, probably not. And so a more qualified lead is somebody who actually sees the price and still presses submit. There's ways that you can build forms that actually include pricing and can actually calculate all of that so that at the end they can see this is what it's going to cost. The 3D builder does the same thing. It can do. You can turn that off in some cases as well. So pricing increases commitment if they see the price. And I know some of us are a little averse to that. We don't want to show our customers prices. But if they see the price, you're going to have a much more qualified lead in the end. Another thing to do at the end, so if you show them the price, and then you say, what do you think? Do you want to proceed? If they say yes, that's a very qualified lead, right? That's the kind of lead you want. They saw the price, they say, yes, I want to proceed. And so those are qualified leads. They've seen what the price is and they said, yes, I still want to keep going. Other leads that are not so qualified would be the ones that are much easier to opt in on. So if it's just inform me when there's a deal, that's going to be a lower level lead, but you still want those. You're not going to call them. You're not going to spend time on the phone with them, but you want those leads in your management system so that when things aren't as good, you can start remarketing to them. An easy opt-in, typically when we're doing a really low level, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, not so qualified, but a lead that doesn't have the same level of commitment, we're looking for maybe a name and email address or first and last name email address. If you ask for too much, you're going to get less. You're going to get fewer people filling it out. But if you can get their email address, then you can set up a way to remarket to them. So not so qualified leads, easy to opt in, might be a deals list, newsletter list, and things like that. Here we have a client that we've worked with, a small shed client, and they don't have time to mess with all the tire kickers, right? So they're busy running their business. They want to spend as little time as possible responding to leads. And so in that case, I already mentioned, we implement pricing into the form, or the 3D builder can do the same thing so that they see the price ahead of time and they're a much more qualified lead. So leads, gathering, building a list of leads in good times and bad times so that you can remarket to them. And there's different levels. There's qualified, more qualified, and then there's those that are much less so, but you still want their information. All right, what is a following? A following is something you're going to gain with social media, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. How do we gain a following? Well, you have to be there, first of all, to be able to gain a following. One way is to engage with people. One of the things that I think people miss with social media is that it's social, right? It's called social media for a reason. And so somebody responds to your post, the best thing you can do is respond in a way that they have to respond again. Because the more engagement you get on your post, the more Facebook and the algorithms are going to like you. Whereas if you just say thank you, then it's done. That's the end of that's the end of the discussion. If there's ways that you can engage people, you want social media to be social because it's what it is. So making an engaging experience on social media. One of the things that's important in social media is if somebody likes your post, this is especially on Facebook, you can invite them to follow you, right? And so you can click on who liked this post, and there's this little invite button. You just click invite. You were inviting, so they engaged with you at one level, and now you're saying follow us, right? And so that can help grow your following. Facebook ads, social media ads can help. You get more engagement that way, and then you're going to get more likes, and then again you do that invite thing. So you want to grow your following. You can join groups and contribute to the groups. That can be a little tricky, especially if you're trying to promote your own product. You have to be careful with that. You have to be a real, genuine contributor. So, and then of course, post and respond to people and engage with them. So that, as you do more and more of that, you grow a following. There's also invisible followers. They're not really followers, I guess, but Facebook has a pixel system where if you install a pixel on your website, Facebook will build this list of people that you never see who they are, but they know who they are, and then you can use that pixel or that list to remarket. You can go back and put things in front of them. The other piece of that is Facebook also does that to all your competitors, and then if you set up your ads properly, they'll show people who visited your website. They'll show their ads to people who visited your website. So they're not just doing it for you; they're doing it for themselves. They're doing it, and so you want to be there as well. Google also you can set up audiences that creates a list of people that are interested in your products, and that can then help you in the future. So we're growing a list of leads, we're growing a list of followers so that we can do what? We can do remarketing. People don't usually buy something the first time they see it, right? And so you want to figure out ways to get in front of people repeatedly and introduce yourself to them over time so that they can stay engaged with your brand. Now, we already talked about some of these things, but here, posting on social media. So think about this. If you did all the inviting and you have a following, now you can start to post, and they're going to see your post, and they might share it. If you can get somebody to share your post, that reaches all of their audience. And if you can get 100 people to do that, you start to suddenly really expand your reach. But you're not going to do that unless you have a following. So building your following over time can help you when things get a little tighter. You can also do remarketing ads. We have Google remarketing ads, Facebook ads, which can remarket to the lists, which I already mentioned that. There's also ways that you can be then remarketing to your competitors' ads in Google, or they figure all those things out. They figure out interests and who's interested in that and who's interested in that, in this. You know how it is. You visit a website and suddenly you start seeing ads for this other company that does the same thing. It's a little creepy when you start seeing the ads when you just talked about it. You wonder what's happening there. I don't know. But anyway, remarketing ads. You can also do follow-up calls. I had an interesting interaction recently. This wasn't with a shed builder, but I'm considering putting a mini split. I need a new mini split in my house. And I had gotten a quote from someone a while back, and they called me and wondered if I want to update the quote. And I was like, well, that's interesting. Oh, that's really nice that they want to update the quote. And so I asked them a few more questions about, when they could install it. And they said, oh, maybe this week or next week. They were doing just what I'm talking about. They had my information, and now they're calling me and say, hey, we could update the quote for you. And I'm like, wait, you could do it this week or next week? That something changed in the economy, in their economy. Before it would have probably been 2 months or whatever. So they were doing this exact thing. They were collecting the leads, and then they were following up when things were slower. I almost bid for it, really. It almost worked. I started looking around a little more then, but you can do follow-up calls. You can update their quote. You can send them an update. Email marketing is something that's really big. We find that email marketing is one of the most effective ways to get people engaged with your brand. It's a very effective way. And we get tired of all the junk mail that comes into our inboxes. But if you're truly interested in a product, you're going to engage with it, right? And if the email actually speaks to your need and what you're looking for, then you're gonna appreciate it. So there's automated emails that can be set up. And what we find is that the more specific your automated emails are to the need or the request that the person has, to the interest, the more opens you're going to get and the more clicks to your website. So if you have a list of leads that is, just general, and you send them this blast of an email with, that's just a bunch of, I don't know, whatever, you're not going to get near as much engagement. But if you have somebody that said, I want to know when you run a special, and then you run a special and you send them an email, they're going to open your email a lot more frequently. You can send emails, sale emails, holiday emails, inventory emails. Here is an example. I mentioned earlier, we set up a form asking people if they'd like to be informed when we have deals or new buildings in stock. So we send out this email to 1,946 contacts. This is a really good example. Now, they're not all this good, okay? Sent it to 1,946 contacts. 49% of the people open the email. That's very high. You don't expect that very often. But something, they requested to be informed, and now we're doing it, and we met their need. We met what they were interested in. Almost 10% of the people clicked on the email and visited the site. So email marketing can be a very good way to get in front of people again. But again, remember, if we wouldn't have collected the lead to start with, if we wouldn't have had a way to organize those leads, we couldn't have done this. We couldn't have sent this email to them. One note with email marketing is to keep your lists active and relevant. We had an interesting problem in the last couple of years. It was hard to convince our clients that they should be doing email marketing because they're like, we're busy. We don't need any more work, right? And so why would we waste money and spend time doing email marketing? And some of this can be automated, but what happened then when things slow down and we want to do email marketing again, our list is too stagnant. And so if you have a list that is stagnant and isn't active, you're going to have a lot more. You're going to have more spam. What do you call it? They're going to mark your email as spam, and you don't, there's a very low threshold. If you have a few emails that get marked as spam, your email provider is soon going to say, stop, you've got to change this, or they'll kick you off the program. So even when things are good, continuing with your email marketing is really important, because that keeps your list active and engaged. If you let it just sit there, you're going to have trouble down the road, even if you're too busy. If you let it sit there because you're too busy, you're going to have trouble. So keep your email list active and relevant. All right. So bottom line, during good times, you want to generate qualified leads and a following, which you can then remarket to in lean times. So you're remarketing through ads, through email, and also through posting to social media. Next step, invest in search engine optimization. Now, that was a really hard one for us in the last couple of years, because we really care a lot about search engine optimization. And so, you have customers that they're busy. Like, why invest in more marketing? It was especially hard to bring in new clients because nobody needs it now, right? And I think this year at the Shed Show, it's actually different. There's more people saying, we need this, we need help, we need, marketing. Whereas last year, everybody had what they needed. There's still people that are, booked out really far. So what is search engine optimization? I'm going to try to give a little bit of a lesson here on what search engine optimization is and what it can do for you. The search engine optimization is basically building content that is optimized or built around what people are searching for. Last night I did a test on the word shed. So I just typed in, I used one of the tools that we used to figure out how many people are searching for sheds. There's a lot. So there was 549,000 keywords that include the word shed. All right? And so think about how people are searching for the same thing in a lot of different kind of ways, right? A lot of different kind of ways. And sometimes we think, we just want to rank for storage sheds, right? Well, people are searching for that storage shed in 20,000 different ways or 10,000 different ways. And so the goal of search engine optimization is to meet those people in the place they're searching. So somebody's searching for shed. What are we going to do? Here, this KD right here, this stands for keyword difficulty. So if I'm working on your website and you say, I want to rank for shed, I'm going to look at this and say, the keyword difficulty is 98%. It's almost impossible. Okay? I wouldn't even try because it's so difficult. There's so much competition there. I probably won't, we'll waste a lot of money. So the big question is here, what kind of shed are they looking for? So we can dig down a little further and say, okay, what kind of shed are they looking for? Are they looking for a tough shed? Well, if they're looking for a tough shed and you start to write about tough sheds on your, maybe tough sheds here, on your website and you're not selling tough sheds, it'd probably be, again, not the best investment of your resources. Now, sheds for sale, that's a really good one. But again, the keyword difficulty is really high. And so if you're starting out into digital marketing and you have a small website, you're going to have a very hard time ranking for sheds for sale, right? Now, they also have your dogs that don't shed. Well, you certainly don't want to rank for that. Not all of these are relevant to your need. So here's our search term. Some of the ones that we may want to rank for: sheds for sale. We see down here she shed. That's still a pretty difficult one to rank for. 8x10 shed comes a little further down the list. 2-story shed, Amish sheds, whatever they are, resin sheds. And so the goal of search engine optimization is to figure out how are people searching, and then what kind of content can we build on the site that can meet that need. So how do we do that? Well, we may look at what are the questions people are asking about sheds. we may dig down a little further and say, okay, what about the locations you're serving? So I think this was mentioned in maybe another session earlier about location pages. Your dealer pages can be great location pages, and you can optimize that around a specific location. And you can go, there's a lot of levels there as well, where if you just, say sheds for sale in this location, but there's ways to build out a location page that has more detail and pulls in more variety of people searching in different ways. Size pages are pretty big, and there's lots and lots of ways. So we don't give all of our secrets away. But that's what search engine optimization is. It's basically figuring out how are people searching, and then how can we meet them there. Now, the tricky part with search engine optimization is that it's not just an overnight thing. So typically we tell our clients that when we post something new, we don't expect to see much for 3 to 6 months. It takes time to build that authority. Now, if you have a website that is already fairly high in authority and has a pretty big presence, you can look for this thing called domain authority. And if your domain authority is 40 already, you're going to have an easier time ranking new content. Whereas if your domain authority is 9, ranking for something new is going to be very difficult, unless it's a keyword that's not very competitive. Yesterday I was talking to somebody here, and we were looking at his niche, and we found this one keyword that had a domain, or the keyword difficulty was 8. That's 8 out of 100. So like that one's like a no-brainer. You can rank for that tomorrow probably, because there's nobody else trying to rank for it, and so it's a lot easier. But your website over time, and as you add more content, builds more and more authority. So we're talking about what to do in good times so that you're prepared for bad times. If you wait until you're like, I need work tomorrow to invest in SEO, you're behind the 8 ball, okay? You want to be doing that on a consistent basis, on an ongoing basis, developing content on your site so that you can rank better and better. If you've done that before and then things get bad and we say, okay, what are we going to do now? We can start digging deeper. In fact, right now as a company, we're saying, okay, things are a little shaky. What are we doing? What can we do to, take it deeper for some of our clients? In the last few years, a lot of them didn't have time to think about new ideas or whatever, but now they're actually having time to think about these things. So we're saying, okay, where are more opportunities for us, for our clients with content? If we've been developing content in the last 5 years, we're going to have a much better chance of ranking with new content because we've invested over the last few years. And then, of course, that's going to bring in leads, and we store those leads, and we remarket to them and all of that. Does that make sense? SEO, or search engine optimization, it's a science. It's really, there's a lot of pieces involved. I've heard that Google looks at maybe 200 factors on your website or on a page to decide if they're going to rank it or not. So it's a big field, but you want to invest in it before you're desperate or you're going to have a hard time catching up. All right, invest in SEO when business is good. Third step, be proactive in growing your reviews. We all know that when we buy things, we look at reviews, right? And so how can we be proactive in getting reviews? We can have our delivery guy maybe do a postcard and give it to the customer. So if you think about this, when you have a happy customer at the end of a delivery, and the delivery guy says, "Here, can you write a review?" They like you, right? They like him. He's nice, and so they're going to feel an obligation. And so if you can create a system where your delivery guys, which is the face of your company, in a lot of situations, they're actually meeting the customer. They can be the ones that can really help with that. You can also send an automated email after delivery to request a quote. If you're using a good CRM system where you're taking your customers through a sales process, and at the end the shed's delivered, you mark it delivered, then you can fire off an automated email that will say, "Hey, thank you for your purchase. we would love to see you write a review. Typically, you want to have them writing the reviews on Google, which can then be pulled into your website, because that then also helps with other algorithm things and showing up locally and all of that. You can send a holiday email with a review link. I found that some of the best reviews I've seen are given or are written maybe a year or two after the delivery. So it doesn't have to be immediate. It can be again later. Maybe even have a list of people you could automate all of this, saying, okay, you send out this email requesting a review. Anybody who didn't click on the link, you could then have an automated system where 3 months later it says, hey, how's your shed? And you could fire off another automated review. And so you can automate some of those things so that you can focus on other things, and your review list grows on its own. I think I already mentioned some of this. We had one client that actually, maybe several, that give a bonus for every review that mentions the install guy. They give it to the guy who delivered it. And the driver might give the customer a package and hand it to the customer. And if they mention that person's name, then they will get some extra bonus. So that's been a very effective way to grow a reviews list. So build a list of leads and a following for remarketing. And again, there's a number of different ways that remarketing can happen. Invest in search engine optimization. That's a long game. It doesn't change things overnight. If you're not doing it early on, you're probably a little late to the game. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. There's still ways to enter into the market, and be proactive in growing your reviews. I don't know what time it is, but what time is it? I think I'm a little early, but any questions? Any questions you have? Yeah.
What would you say is the expected or a good estimate for the resources that you would need to help maintain
Mm-hmm.
business, or just
Yeah.
a marketing?
So like a budget.
Yeah.
So with the shed clients we're working with, most of them are in the 2 to 4% range. I don't know what other marketing companies would tell you, but that's where I think pretty much all of our clients in the shed industry in that market, we're looking at a 2 to 4% marketing budget. Now, when I say that I'm referring to their entire marketing budget, not just what they're doing with digital. So we try to work with our clients, say, okay, what's your goal next year? Do you want to do 10 million in sales? 4%, if you want to really grow, then 4% is probably where you want to be. And that includes Google ads, Facebook ads, search engine optimization, social media work, a lot of those things combined. So the client might be doing some of that in-house, and we're doing some of it, and they do some print marketing and maybe some other ads, but typically we're looking at 2 to 4%.
And then along that line, how many people do I need on my staff to interact with the outsourced team
Mm-hmm.
that's doing those marketing ads? So
Yeah.
and what skill set do I really need?
Yeah. But that's going to vary a lot depending on the marketing company you're working with. In our situation, we handle most of it, and it varies some with clients. Some of them say we want to do our social media, and we're like, that's probably the best thing you can do. If you can post your own social media, you're more connected to your company. You can probably give a better feel for what's happening. But as far as content, we're writing all the content. We're running the ads. So we have companies that they just kind of depend on us to do it. I think that, like I said, will vary depending who you're working with. We try to really come alongside our clients and help them manage their marketing so that they can focus on running their business. So I can't speak for others, but mm-hmm. Yes.
Two questions. One, touch on your opinion of marketing mix, print versus digital.
Mm-hmm.
Overall goal, goal reach. And number two is touch on ROI expectations
Okay. All right. So first of all, print versus digital. I'm probably not the best person to speak on print. We're very digital focused as a company, so I probably won't sell you on print marketing. Um, but a good brochure, of course, is a good thing to put in front of people. I think Mark, you were saying yesterday that the brochure that we put together for you guys has really been big, and so a well-designed brochure, somebody takes that into their hand, and I think that can tie in and help your marketing efforts. But as far as like ads and newspapers, I don't think I'm the best person to answer that question. The challenging part with when you're running ads and newspapers and whatever is tracking. How do you track that? So, there's ways that you can set up a phone number that if they call this phone number, then it can track that phone number. And so you know how many people called from that ad. You can also set up landing pages on your website so that, maybe it's, I don't know, Timberline Barnes / something, or maybe even another URL. And then you can tell who all's coming from that, from that ad. But it's much more difficult to track. Whereas with digital, you can kind of track, okay, we're spending this much here and we're getting this much out. Now, return on investment, I think it ties in with what I was just talking about. So in our situation, we usually look at what are your sales goals. If your sales goals are 10 million or a million, and we're going to say we probably should have 4% for marketing if you want to grow. So 4% of a million is, what is it? 4% of 10 million would be 400,000, right? 4% of a million would be 40,000. Did I get that right? I'm not the best mathematician. Yeah. So that's usually the way we're looking at it. If you invest 4%, you should be able to sell $1 million worth of sheds. Most of the times, our shed clients are able to reach that. What would that be in ROI? I don't even know. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a great mathematician. Yes, sir.
You grew up in the shed industry and transitioned to marketing. How difficult do you think it is for marketing companies to transition to the shed industry?
That's a good question. SEO is kind of SEO, and so we don't have the inside track on how to do SEO, and so I think there are certain things about understanding how a shed is built and some of those things that are helpful. But so there's probably some advantages if you've been in the shed industry, but I'm not saying, because I've been in the shed industry, I have the inside story. Yeah, I don't know. You can ask Brandon. There's other people that do good marketing as well. There's a lot of companies that are doing good marketing around sheds that didn't grow up in the industry. Yes, sir. What is the best? Okay. The best way to make communication. SMS, we're not on the sales side, so I don't know if we can speak to all of that. Maybe what do you guys? Maybe the rest of you know. What's the best? What do you find most helpful?
We have our contact form. We literally ask them how they would like to be contacted.
Good.
Text message,
Mm-hmm.
or a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
Them tell us.
That's good. That's great. That's very good. Now you know, right? They're telling you. Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts? I don't know if I'm the best person to answer that. I'm not in the sales side of things. Sure. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Hey, Chris, I'm not trying to get you in trouble here or mentioning, business. There's a lot of 3D builder people out there. There's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of CRMs out there.
Mm-hmm.
What you're talking about this morning, for someone that's not in manufacturing, that's just on the retail sales side of the business,
Mm-hmm.
what's, in your opinion, a great way to combine what you're talking about here this morning,
Mm-hmm.
plus a 3D builder on your
Mm-hmm.
website,
Yeah.
plus the CRM.
Yeah.
All work seamlessly together.
Yeah.
To achieve what you want to achieve.
I'm sure there's a lot of ways to do it. The way we've chosen to do it is we work with one program called ActiveCampaign. And ActiveCampaign allows us to start in really small for a client. We actually use another one for a few clients that we've been using for a while, and it's hard to transition. A sharp spring. So ActiveCampaign allows us to come in really at low levels with a client that's small and then grow with them. And we can do email marketing only, automated emails, campaigns, or we can also transition it to much more of a robust program where we actually have a sales like funnel. And when a lead comes in from the quote form, it lands in a funnel, right? And then the person wakes up in the morning and they're like, okay, I got to take care of this. So it becomes sort of it's their CRM where they're managing all their leads. We can also pull them in from the 3D Builder. So we can tie in 3D Builder leads and the quote form and any other leads that are coming in. Maybe it's a sale that you made through e-commerce. We can pull all that together into one platform. There's a lot of platforms that can do that. So it probably just depends on your marketing company and what they decided to put together. But it is really important that you're pulling them all together. Like for us, it's really important that all of the leads that are coming in are ending up in one place. Because if you have idea room here and you have something else over here and you have all these systems and they're not pulling it together, that becomes difficult to manage. Yes, sir.
So, say you have a SEO website, it's already very optimized, ton of content, maybe in some ways too much content, but it's scoring well. What do you feel like at that point are like next steps to continue?
Yeah. So we're very focused on SEO. I would say you can never get to the end of search engine optimization. Because like I showed you here just a bit ago, for the word shed, there was 549,000 keywords that you want to rank for. Well, not all of those. We don't want to rank for how dogs are shedding, right? But there's a lot of keywords in there that you want to rank for, and so we find that there's almost no end to the depth that you can go. So we have clients that we've been working with, for 15 years, that they continue to invest in search engine optimization, in developing content because it works. It continues to grow the organic side. And so there's other ways to bring leads or people to your site through ads. You can run Google ads, but you've got to pay for that same click tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. Whereas if you're building this organic search engine optimized website over time, it develops more and more momentum, and you can continue. And if you're not doing it, then we're doing it. Yeah.
When you develop that content for so long, how do you keep it organized so that it doesn't become too much?
Yeah, that's a good question. That can be a bit challenging. There's times that we kind of have to, if we've developed something for a long time, we have to kind of step back and say, okay, this became sort of this animal. Now what are we going to do with it? And how can we reorganize it and and it happens when a client is just, they add all these new products, like they started out with selling 3 kinds of sheds and now they're selling 40. And so how do you rebuild that in a way that makes it easy for the customer to find what they're looking for? So sometimes that is the answer, just to kind of step back and revamp it. That's difficult, especially when you have a client, a project that's ranking really well already, and then you want to reformat everything. You often see a drop in rankings, which then takes a little time to kind of pull it back out of that. We had a client that we worked with for a number of years. I think we lost 50% of their organic traffic when we revamped everything. A year, maybe 6 months. I think around there. Mm-hmm. We've had several situations when you really have invested a lot in SEO and then you try to make some of those changes. That's a difficult transition to make. That's several situations like that. You can usually get it back because you have a solid base already. And so with some really good strategy, you can bring it back, but it takes some pretty hard work. Yeah, back here.
Isn't there a correlation though to conversions? I mean, you want to make it easier for your
Yeah, that's a very good point. So we've seen situations where we see the loss in traffic, but the conversions stay. We're still getting the conversions that we need. And so we're like, okay, we lost some traffic, but we're still getting the conversions. We're still getting the leads. So something is working right, yeah. But it then gives us another opportunity to kind of ramp up from there. We can maybe take one more or two more questions if there's anyone else. Yeah.
So if you don't have all that content and we're gonna start to make it, how do you, is there a general structure you would recommend
Mm-hmm.
from the beginning to not have to reorganize?
Yeah. I think a pretty basic place to start is location pages, your dealer pages or whatever. If you have dealers or locations, the locations you serve, that can be a good starting point. And then maybe you have to talk to me later to find out the rest. All right, I'll take one more question and then we're going to call it quits. All right. Sounds good. Thanks for coming out. We're at booth 30, so if you want to talk some more, come see us there.